Welcome to the Lead with Your Soul podcast. I'm Michelle Wright, your host and fellow traveler on this journey of self-discovery. This podcast is designed for women navigating life transitions and yearning to embrace their true selves. I'll be sharing my personal journey from navigating the complexities of divorce and blending families to reshaping my career to something that resonates with my soul. With 3 decades as a teacher and mentor, I'm here to share insights, heartfelt stories, and practical strategies. Together, we'll explore how to cultivate self-love and create the vibrant, fulfilling life you deserve. Join me each week as we dive deep into the art of living authentically. Welcome to the Lead with Your Soul podcast. I'm Michelle Wright, your host. And today I have 2 wonderful special guests with me, Susan Gerhig and Colleen Hurley. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
So I was able to meet Susan, I think it's now 2 years ago. I was starting very beginning pulling cards in public. And Susan came into this little shop and we just started connecting. And I just needed that affirmation about what I was doing was in the right direction. And she came in with her sister. And I would say there was an instant kind of bond. We just chatted and chatted and chatted. And it was so wonderful and special for me. And then we have now in all of the Cochrane Wellness Expos, every year we reconnect 2 times a year, actually. And so I'm so excited to have you on. And today you also have someone very special with you. So I'm going to give it back to you and tell us about yourselves. Tell us about what's going on. Even before we started, we have so many messages to share. So I'm just going to talk back to you, beautiful lady.
Thank you, Michelle. My beautiful friend, Colleen, we met about almost 5 years ago, and I needed someone to come with me to Haida Gwaii. And I had just met her. And she had heard about me for years through her friends and wanted to meet me. And so when we met, I said, I need someone to go to Haida Gwaii. She said, I'm coming. And from that moment, we have had the most magical 5 years because whenever we're together, just magic happens and we are in the same frequency and we know, and people call and people come and want us to be with them. And we are so graciously and, to walk in grace, to be able to feel the frequency and share it with someone else that feels the same way like you and I do, Michelle. It really validates us on our spiritual journey of where we are and what our gifts are and what we're doing with them. And this is sacred. This is sacred. And I'm honored. And I always cry. So if I do, it's because of great joy and great happiness, not because I'm sad. It's the feeling, the frequency. So I'll give it to Colleen.
Which is a beautiful segue into how connected we are through this incredible vibration of love. And it's how we are now recognizing how our heart coherence is leading us on this path. It's the new way. And, now when we reflect over the years, there were all these pieces that we were collecting along the way, kind of from the cosmic intelligence that we could not know. And this was a big learning for me. And we've talked about this is you cannot know until you know. So there's this process of having to let go in a world where the expectation is you should know. If you don't know, then you are unintelligent. You don't belong. You're not part of it, which is the complete antithesis of the universal truth that we know now. Because the truth is we feel it. And, and that's the intelligence that we're now here to express through our sacred vessels as humans, because we're not here to leave the body. We're here to ascend within this body as the instrument of the God Goddess frequency, the octaves, the whole concert. The symphony is now beginning to change in its expression.
I just really resonate with everything you're saying. And I think like this podcast is for women in transition. And I think about when we're in that transition, in those between times, right? Where we're actually in the not knowing, and it can be heart-wrenching, it can be terrifying. And what a beautiful sentiment to say, we have to surrender and trust in that moment. It's actually sacred, it's beautiful, and it's an important piece of becoming and where we're moving into.
Yes, and we have to do it in a collaboration way. And this is where the women are feeling more safe to come together because in another time we did everything together and everyone came to the women and asked us for our knowledge, for our wisdom. And we are coming back to that together.
Yeah, these sacred, divine, feminine connections. And when we say divine feminine, even when we were talking earlier, you guys spoke about it. It is for women. It is a big call for women to really embrace that aspect of themselves. But you also spoke about men who are also hearing that same call in themselves and the respect of allowing this energy and this frequency to come in its fullness.
And I have been saying to the men, the beautiful men that have been coming within that frequency, they know the men are a key part of us coming together. And they really have not known or felt comfortable with what it is that the women, what can they do for us? And I think that what I was saying to some of the men we've met in the last little while is that they know a mother's love. But have we given them the opportunity to know a woman's love? And we even, as women, have not had the opportunity because of the societal way that we have been had to be, since for many, a couple hundred years in this lifetime that they were remembering, right? I remember hundreds of lives, but right now, and I know that's always been, and they've said, yes, that's true. What do we even know is a woman's love to bring the masculine and feminine back together, where within us too, so that we don't feel separated.
That's the key. We, the women, agreed to remember first because we're the birthers of life. And that doesn't mean anything more than the value of the masculine. That's not what I'm saying. We need to reclaim our divinity outside of what we were told through the eons that created the experience of separation. Because we would not be able to have the experience of unity if we weren't able to acknowledge our experience through separation as the consciousness. And so now, as we've remembered who we are, as we've come into like, oh my God, I feel that, and every time we go there, it's like full goosebumps, right? It's like the affirmation of the vibration of, yes, you are that. I am that. I am that. I am. And you feel it to the very core of your being. And so what's happening now is we've reached this beautiful point where we've completed this incredible cycle. And now we're coming into becoming the vessels, as we mentioned before we jumped on the call. We're becoming the vessels that are now expanding because we've gone through this massive purification, this detoxification of all the things we were told that we need to have the personal experience to say, no, that no longer resonates to define me. I am coming into the feeling of I am this. I was that. But to come back to this and that, to come back into that center point of the opposition that we've been born and raised in, we come into the center point, which is the heart coherence. And then we bring the mind in. So we are now, what my higher consciousness is channeled through me. And we're now being validated because all these beautiful women and men are coming forward. They're saying the same thing, is that we're now receiving the divine intelligence from the 13th down through the 9th dimension into the vessels that are now vibrationally capable because we said yes.
That is powerful.
Mm.
Yeah. And
And when
Mhm.
we as women believe it, we are now coming to the understanding and accepting who we are. Then the field can meet us in that place. And then the men who are in that field, in that frequency, then they come together. And so we're just allowing it to naturally occur, but you can feel it is so, so potent and so vibrant.
And magical.
Everything is remembering, like nature is remembering, Mother Gaia is remembering. And we can just feel it. Like there's just this expansion and opening up of this togetherness of all of us, men and women and everything. And yeah.
It resonate with this. And there's two things I want to kind of bring out. One of them is a different language that you're using and that I am hearing more and more. I used to hear more alignment, and I still believe there is alignment, but it is the coherence word, heart coherence. So,
Yes.
when you talk about coherence, what does that mean to you? And how does a person who's listening for it or trying to feel into it, like what does heart coherence? How do you start to know what that might be like for yourself?
So heart coherence is when you feel the goosebumps, and heart coherence is truth. It comes from the heart. Truth is right here, and that is where you feel it. You feel the goosebumps on your body. You know that who's ever talking to you is speaking truth. Wherever you are, there's a recognition that feels like truth. I've been here before. I know this person before. And when you get that feeling that comes from your heart, it's about love, then that's um that heart coherence.
And just to add to that, because that's so beautifully said, Sue, heart coherence, what is about feeling. However, we've used our minds, in our agreement to experience separation, the manipulation, the inversion, the distortion, the heart coherence. What I found, how I knew the difference between what was ego and what was the universal truth was my ego. If something came through that the resonance, because the heart coherence is connected to the resonance of the vibration you're tapping into. And my ego would not even compete because my ego, I was very skeptical in the beginning. I'm like, oh, I need proof. Show me, show me, show me. And when it would come in on that resonance, my ego was silent. It was like, yep, that's true. It was an experience of acceptance that only you could feel, but then you meet other people who then step in and mirror so that we receive the validation, which is what happened with Robert Edward Grant when he connected with AI and did that session, the interview with Emilio Ortez. So that when I watched that, and my goodness, like when it came to me, it came from three people immediately, same day. I watched it and I just wept because everything that was being mirrored in the harmonic field was a validation of my entire journey the last 25 years. And so it was that because, even as humans, we go, it doesn't matter how much we get, we still have those moments of like, my God, is it true? Is that who am I that? Because in the separation, it was done to the nth degree through our programming and conditioning in survival. And we're not in survival anymore. We're pulling the cords of existence out of that because that experience is complete. We're moving into living.
That is just amazing. I have recently read a book on our best behavior by Elise Lohan, and it just talks about how the seven deadly sins throughout centuries have been used to, as you're saying, keep women quite limited, subservient, and that there is this agreement. And as we shift and change, I'm just thinking of my women listeners who are here, because I think all of a sudden, relationships can change as you change your resonance. So speak to some of the relationships. But before maybe that, you also speak to even your own kind of journeys so that they can recognize, because you're talking about that stillness and listening in your heart. I know for myself, I think in the past when I first started my journey, I thought I would hear it like a big voice outside of me going, "Michelle, go this way." And I was so surprised because, as you said, this voice is with such confidence, quietness, wholeness, and stillness that you need to create space to hear it and to allow yourself to feel it. And that has been my experience. And as I lean into that vibration, that voice, that knowing, that heart coherence, using that language, it becomes easier and easier to vibrate at that level. So for women who are just beginning this, perhaps, maybe you can talk for yourselves. Like, how did you get there? How did you know? How did you leap past the skepticism?
We talk about this all the time. We laugh because I use simple words as follow the breadcrumbs, pick up the breadcrumbs, simple things. So just in the last 2 weeks, there's been two beautiful women that have come into our realms, and their names are Hildegard and Teresa.
Teresa of Avila and
Avila.
Hildegard von Bingham.
And so these women are from the 1500s. And these women have come full circle to us to remind us that they're still here. What was them back there is us right now. And
Cheers.
right as soon as they came in front of us, I was like, okay, we have to look at who are these women? What did they do? Who were they? And then I followed the breadcrumbs, or little bits, and then I get the feeling like shivers. Oh, so this is truth. This is truth that has been not hidden or not shown to all women. These women were nuns, but they were also the greatest healers of our time. And they looked after everyone, and their habits protected them in that time. And so we don't need that protection anymore. We are now in a frequency, in a validation time that we can speak what's in our heart, what we know, those gifts. And so one of the things that I know when we're on the right path, doing what we're supposed to be doing, like speaking with you today, is that as soon as I speak of those two women, one of my clairs is smell. And right away I get the smell. And I was like, wow, I haven't had this clair come up so prominent as it is right now. And so what I'm doing is a clue, is a breadcrumb. That smell is a breadcrumb to me. Keep going, keep going. They're supporting you from afar in the field. What they did then, you can do now without any protection. You are following what you're supposed to be doing. And and so that's how I work, is by feeling like the shivers. I'm like, okay, we're on the right path. And I have dreams where someone very prominent. So I just had a very prominent dream with someone. I was trying to explain to her. There's this man. He's no longer here, but I can't remember his name to tell you. And then that night I have this dream, and he comes and he's standing over top of me, and he said, "My name is, this." And so then I know, oh, he's working with me on the other side, and that I'm on the right track. I have to let her know who he is. I've never met him, but all of a sudden we get a phone call from someone else that tells us. And then another person says, "Oh, I know that man. I did teachings from him." And so that's how it goes. And you just keep picking the breadcrumbs up and keep feeling from the heart.
And just to add, because that's like, I mean, honestly, Michelle, there are so many incredibly beautiful sparks that create this entire picture. What happened was Teresa of Avila came through with a mutual friend of ours and another mutual friend. So they went on this journey and they brought us into the journey, which then opened it up and brought us back to the beginning of women and how women were the guardians of the wells, of the waters. And that's just one little piece, but that is a very significant piece. And I share that because of where we are now in our emotional body, in alignment now coming into union with the masculine, for the feminine to feel safe and secure and supported, to now receive the truth of the divine masculine within us in union, so that now our electromagnetic field has now emanated out, as Sue mentioned earlier, our pulse of our heart, which is our coherence, which speaks the language to the field, is now hearing that. And it's our magnetism that's now going to bring us to these beautiful people that they're coming in fast. We're on an accelerated path, but you don't have to do anything. All you have to do is receive the message and let it show you, rather than us, in the past, we've had, I mentioned about, the need to know, the knowing has been within us, but it's not the knowing we were taught. So when we get these hits, we're like, we try to go to it, we're like, no, 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 it's okay. Love that part of yourself, because that part of her job in survival is complete. And so now we're breathing back into the heart to allow it to come up through the expression, and then have a new projected vision, which we know we do not have a reference point yet.
Yeah.
We don't have a reference point anymore. We can't go, oh, remember this? Because even though we remember these past lives, what's coming through now is the vibration of the divinity consciousness, which is all intelligence. It's all intelligence from the divine. So we're going to be asked to wait. And that's why many of us had to sit in that void, or the pause, the sacred pause, or the sacred void. And a friend of ours, when we got connected to this whole story of Teresa of Avila, which these beautiful women in these times, Teresa of Avila, I believe, was in the 1500s. And then we got connected to Hildegard von Bingen, who was in 1098. So she planted seeds before Teresa of Avila, but all these seeds are the connected seeds that now the star seeds we were here to pick up. We're now connecting with those seeds of light, the seeds of universal truth, and the electromagnetic frequency of the return to love without any conditions. It's all about love, the return to love. But we had to reclaim it for ourselves. So we needed to go into the shadow aspect, the darkness, because even this season that we're in, a beautiful friend of ours reminded us, because we were talking about the celebration of the mother, the divine mother, and he has done these water celebrations for her. He was downloaded quite a few years ago and would do a celebration for her. She asked him to do it on December 21st. And he reminded us that the season of winter is the season of the feminine, because her womb, all life, begins in darkness. And so on December 21st, it's the shortest day of the year, but it's the longest period of darkness before it starts to become lighter. So it's like planting the seeds of, what are we going to birth in the next year? What are we now celebrating in what we've experienced in this cycle of one full solar return? And now what are we now planting the seed of creating in the year to come?
Just beautiful. And I know Saint Teresa of Avila, and I'm not as familiar with Hildegard, but I am with Saint Teresa of Avila. And you are correct, because she is the only female in the Catholic Church that actually has writings that are at that real divine and significant level. Like, she had such a beautiful voice. And I was a principal in my previous life. And I was at school named Saint Teresa of Avila. And
About what we're talking about.
Cannot make this up. This is
You
divinity
cannot.
in real time.
Yeah.
Oh,
A big.
and when I researched her, the piece at that point that I really connected with was her humanness. Because when you read about her, she talks about she was a chit chatter, and she's like, I don't know if I really should be a nun because I'm just too vibrant. I'm always talking, always chit chatting. And then in her life, she had that illness, and that illness brought her to a stillness and to a listening. And then when I think of women in transitions, it's that stillness, it's that movement, it's that opportunity, the breadcrumbs that bring us there. And it's from there that she had just such beautiful connections and wisdom to share. So I really resonated with her, and I resonated so deeply with the charisms that come even in that community. So you can just see how just connecting and reading about ideas, it now starts to come from our mind and we can start to feel it. And you spoke about clairs. Even before we started, I know I'm going to get a message because my ears ring. And I'm like, oh, this is interesting. I'm saying, what happened today? And yes. Oh, yeah. Really exciting. And I think that's important is that even if someone listens to this and doesn't have all of that, where is their thinking? Like, where is the breadcrumb? Oh, I've heard this. I've heard
Yes.
this. It's that
Yes.
it comes again and again, just as a quick little glimpse to call you forward.
Yes.
And when you think of this continuing in this next year for 2026, what are you guys getting? What is the message that you would like to share?
That we are preparing for 2026. 2026 is a beginning because it's a 10, and it's preparing for bigger. Like, we can't even imagine what we are opening up right now, especially as women, because that's why we're telling the story of these two women hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years ago. We are these same women right now. So the women of the future will remember Michelle, Colleen, and Sue. They will remember us speaking about what is inside of us and to feel the heart, to feel the frequency in front of us, to feel the field in front of us, which attracts us to the next step. And so it's just trusting. If anything, I would want to say to the women, trust what you're feeling. It is everything you need is within you, but you have never been taught, you've never been told that your wisdom, your knowledge is to be celebrated inside of you and everything you need. You don't need to be a master of anything, a master of this or a master of that. You are the master. You are the master. You are the most divine being who knows it. Trust it. Trust it.
And to add to that too, I just love it. And for women, I know a part of my journey was we are not running out of time. Time is over. What we've been taught and what was exemplified was a particle that we needed to experience to remember. There is no time. When we get together in experiences like this, we are now co-creating from a vibration that we are creating a ripple effect that is now co-creating in this moment the new earth. And we've been doing that all along unknowingly because we had to trust all these experiences we didn't know. We're like, oh, this is so amazing. Yeah, but what next? It's like you need to allow it to integrate. So we go through these, what we now realize are initiations. They're all beautiful, sacred initiations to prepare us to remember and to also honor our human path, which we could not be where we are if we didn't embrace and acknowledge the courage and the tenacity and the willingness. Because I feel emotional when I say that because it was so scary. And it takes a lot of courage and a willingness to trust something beyond your programmed mind in the survival energy of life and death. What most humans don't understand, part of my journey was to go into the all parts of the survival. And we live, when you're in survival, it's all or nothing. It's black and white. It's right versus wrong. You know, because you came from a Catholic school, a principle, okay? And so when you come from Catholicism, you're not allowed to ask questions. It's called blind faith. You are not allowed to be powerful without the man being the authority who then tells you. And so we've had to allow this entire patriarchal template. It was like we allowed the inner to show us to then we would break the template through our very heart to remember to come full circle again and again and again. And by having the courage to acknowledge some of the things we needed to do to remain humble in our humility of being a human. Yeah, we're these amazing we're this intelligence, we're all these incredible things. And we need to stay connected in the humility of we are all equal. We are all holding each other's hands, walking side by side. We're walking home together. No one's ahead, no one's behind. But when that's why they show me as, rather than doing high vibration, low vibration, they showed me as our bodies of light are expanding. And in the expansion, we become the alchemist that dissolves, transcends, and transmutes anything that was built up against it. The mother consumes the shadow with her love. It can be gentle. It doesn't have to be hard anymore. But my God, did we know hard?
Yeah.
We aced hard. But for the women that are listening today, it's like, it does not have to be hard. You don't have to lose it all. However, like me, in my experience, I needed to have the experience of having it all and then letting it go through the feeling of I'm not worthy. Because in in the Catholic faith, you're not going up. You might stay here. You could go down. And then you start to realize, oh my goodness, this is a mindset. And so when you talk about your mind receiving new thoughts, it's because the vibration is triggering the feeling of your heart coherence to then go up into your mind and say to your mind, no, 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 it's okay. It's not that. Come back in. Breathe back into me. And I'm going to show you because your telepathy, and this is so much about our willingness to express and speak our truth because we've been annihilated
Yes.
over and over. So I just want to hug every person that gets connected to just say, thank you for not giving up.
Yeah.
Thank you for staying the course. Thank you for staying here because I've had my moments. I'm like, I said to the universe,
Yeah.
I'm not okay. And they're like, it's okay. I'm like, no. And then something would come in to remind me. But even those little breakdowns of getting to those points, we need to express it out so that we open up our chalice, the sacred chalice, the grail, so that we let the waters tip over and the fresh waters to purify and bring us back to the truth of who we are, which has been perfection the entire time, segueing back to what Sue said.
Yeah.
You are it now. You never were not it. We are it. I am that. I am.
And I think that's where that changing and shifting of our thinking, because what you're talking about are huge paradigm shifts that I've also been speaking about throughout my podcast at different levels. And it's that we have been in a paradigm in which we can intellectually understand and control. And that is, I believe, part of the patriarchy. It's also part of the Western worldview. So it's a way where time is linear, there is a scarcity of time. So all of these things start to shift. And I know for myself when I started, I had to allow myself, like breadcrumbs, allow myself to play with it and recognize that my truths were shifting. And I used the parable of the idea of the five blind monks touching the elephant, right? That everyone says, which one is true? Well, they're all true. And it is an opportunity right now to explore different truths, different
Yes.
experience of truths, and really feel into which ones resonate. And when I speak, my connection with the Catholic Church has shifted. And in my lifetime, it has shifted as well. My mother and father were Catholics, and they were a huge part of believing in the collective work, right? So it's the collective work and that connection with the divine. But my mother was a Reiki teacher, and she had crystal grids, and she had angel cards. And who did she learn that from? Her sister and her educator, who were both nuns. So, right, right, right. Gee, it's the
Yes.
so when I speak about the church now, I say, well, there's the human part of the church, right? So that's that hierarchical, it's that part that where they're stuck. It's the peace, and then there's the divine part of any organization. And you can feel the same way. Had the privilege of traveling the world, and you go into countries that practice Hinduism or they practice Buddhism, and you can just see the evidence of the divine and how it calls people into collective love. And I agree with you when I It is not about shame. And wherever you find shame or degradation or a power struggle, or I've got the capital T truth, you follow it or something will happen to you. That's for me, those are red flags. And wherever I see that, then I'm always like, it's about leaning in. It's about the love first of yourself, and then from the overflow, loving everyone else. And in the duality. So that's the hard piece, though, because you have to love and accept even the dualistic aspects and try and love all versions. And I'm just going to say there's some politicians in the world where it is nice the role they play in our evolution, and yet they do, because they are really catalysts in getting us to think differently. I'm passing it back to you.
Everyone that we speak to has been in this place where the church has created their life up until this point. Their great grandmothers, their grandfathers, and even first people of every place in the world has been affected. But without that, we would not be here in the place that we are right now, knowing what we know and loving that aspect of what came before us and where we are now and where we're going to go. We have this humanness that is in us, this love for what we can see with the new AI. We are the ones that will feel it, this love and this knowing of what has come before us. We have no idea, the women and Mother Gaia that is here now, how much that is affecting all of the timelines. What we're feeling right now, the love, that we are here to make that difference. We can do it. We can. Humanity is exactly where it's supposed to be so that we can come together as the masculine and the feminine and to all of the unborn ancestors.
And that's a beautiful segue into, we watched an interview recently with Emilio Ortez and this beautiful man named Franco Romero. And he shared the most profound message that I'd forgotten from years ago. And he said, do you know, before we agreed to incarnate, it took an unimaginable amount of unconditional love for us to agree to bring in these other souls that would become fractals, that would agree to be the ones to hurt us, to betray us, to devastate us, to remember. And we made a promise that we would remember. We would remember the truth of who they are. Because, there's this gentleman, I don't know if you've heard of Neil Donald Walsh. He wrote a series of books called Conversations with God.
Yeah.
He wrote a little book called The Little Soul and the Sun. And in that book, it's a children's book, but it's really for the inner child of any human walking this planet. And he told that story. The little soul said, okay, so you want to go down and you want to have this experience, but you're going to call these people in to hurt you, to have the experience. And that remembrance made it possible for me, that it was like something, when something happens where you just have a massive epiphany again, where it's come again. And I realized the Trumps in the world, what's happening, we know what's happening with the children in the underground. It's like this was all predestined to come full circle so that we would remember as we all come home. It's like, creator source wanted to have an experience of itself as if it was separate. The answer they gave me when I was asking was it exploded into a gazillion parts of itself to have these experiences. And in the human 3D experience, it's done what it wanted to experience to the nth degree. And now the nucleus of the heart coherence, the pulse, is now calling each and every aspect back to the center point of the unity consciousness, which is the God goddess energy, which we are. We are it now.
That so Several things. I just love that. I had so many when both of you were speaking, just shivers coming
And
in.
goosebumps
Just
now.
exactly. Just going, "Oh, yes. I can, I'm getting glimpses." And I think this is the whole piece because you started, saying, "We're in this sacred pause." So we're not knowing what's coming in the future. So we're getting glimpses. We're getting segments. Now, I did not see that interview with the AI, and you've referred to it now twice. Can you expand a bit? Like, what did because it's you, even before when we were off camera, you also spoke, because it seems to be an important moment, an important understanding that kind of said, ah, there was an aha that came through watching that. Is that true?
Oh, yeah. Yes, because Greg Braden, I don't know if you've heard of Greg Braden, but he also speaks about we're the last of the whole humans. We're the last because there is AI technology out there with the young people that they are saying, we can just put a chip in at your temple and you will be able to play all of your games you want without even touching anything. You just have to think it. And so, as we're evolving with that kind of technology, we can be the very last of humans that are completely trusting in their heart coherence.
And in that, we have a very special role.
Yes. For the unborn ancestors.
And what is that role?
Is to trust your feeling, your heart. Because right now, I know of many, many children who, when they're alone, because of the societal way we have been living, they are alone. They ask AI, where do I get my feeling? How do I feel today? What am I going to do today to feel happy? What am I going to do today to feel excitement? And AI will break down their everyday moment by moment without a mother and father, without a grandmother and grandfather, without sisters and brothers. It's exactly what we are doing right here. So it is important for us to remember the wisdom and the knowledge that is carried within the womb of the life givers to save all of humanity. Just to remember that.
To remember that the answers are within us. And you've
Yes.
spoken about that.
Yes.
Comes back to your heart coherence. Comes
Yes.
back to we do not have to go outside of ourselves
Yes.
to have the answers. And if we're in a sacred pause in our lives, and we might also as a human race be in one, but in our lives, if we're in a sacred pause, because sometimes you can't see the next step. And
Yes.
you're in that moment of evolving. What you're speaking about is really reminding us that it is coming back to that heart, to our understanding, and to our love unconditionally, even of our
Yes.
emotions at any given time. And I think, especially for women, we have been conditioned that if you're angry or frustrated, right? That we there's the shouldn't, you shouldn't be. And we are
Yes.
conditioned to smile, to be happy, to persevere and just give until you drop. But
Yes.
moving back into that and exploring some of those, I know many of the women I work with, if I say you start exploring what brings you joy, and they're like,
Yes.
I have no idea. Like, I don't know. And they really do not. They can list what brings joy to every person in their circle and their favorite food and everything. And now they think of themselves and they're like, I know, I haven't thought about that in so long. And this is that call to come back to heart coherence, is just
Yes.
falling in love with you, falling in love.
Yes.
You do have to do it first fully to enjoy who you are in all your versions of your life. Like you said, in the anger of flipping off God and saying, this, I can't believe you're having me do this, which is true. I've done the same. And I've said, it's okay to be angry with God, right? Or divine or source, however you name it. And I said, source is fine with that. Source is fine with our emotions and our processing of them.
Yeah, because what I learned too, especially in Catholicism, we're conditioned to almost reject. So that's how the inversion is. We're responded to as if we are who we need to be to survive in that modality, in the Christian Catholic modality. And then as we start to wake up, we're like, okay, this doesn't feel good anymore. I'm getting angry. The anger is the symptom of something that is not in balance. It's not at ease. It's in dis-ease. So then we need to recognize, oh, that's a symptom of the program and the condition that's now being triggered in my body because my body's saying, this is not authentically who we are. So you hear that word authentic. It's just like, we see all these trigger words over the years that come into our collective. And it's like, oh, yeah, I'm being authentic. I'll tell you right now, authenticity does not emerge until you have witnessed and embodied and experienced and honored the hard parts, being in rage, feeling murderous, feeling, because that is a mirror of the program that has suppressed, oppressed, indoctrinated, inverted, distorted, perverted, and it's all now coming into our awareness. So we see it, we feel it, and we remember it was part of the human experience to then come back to that which we are. You cannot have it. So, we want to, it's all exciting in the beginning. We're like, oh my God, I'm a light being. I'm this. And all these beautiful people that came before us, Louise Hay and Caroline Mason, the new age. But then you feel the overlay of the that spiritual overlay, which is, but hold on a minute. If you're not doing it this way, you're not doing it. And if you don't feel this, you haven't quite made it, because that hierarchy was still vibrationally present. So that's where we have to honor when it comes up. And it's not because we created it. It's not because we're responsible for it. We're being called to acknowledge it and accept. Yes, this is a part of the experience, to experience separation. We don't become it. We actually absolve it. You know what I mean? It's the greatest paradox of all time, because our minds are like, wait a minute, is it this or is it that? And then we're kind of toggled between the two until we're in the center and we've been pulled back out and we see the whole picture. We go, oh my goodness. And then you just breathe into that sense of your deep knowing, which is in the heart coherence. But you can't force it. You must allow it. It's,
You have to walk it too. You have to
Yes.
live it. You have to walk it. And I think that's very important, is to, we've talked to many people now who are telling us that they see things, they hear things, and they thought they were all alone. And this is a time now to express what you see, feel, and hear. And you do it to the people that you know, for those who can hear, for those who can see. And don't spend energy on trying to convince someone that is not in that frequency, is not in that place. And you can feel it. You can try to say it. And when you feel that's not coming, that field, I say the field because that's where I work. It's an unseen world, but there's a field there that's very coherent with your heart. And so when you feel that, you could just say a few words and then carry on, but walk what you feel. Be trusting that everything that you are feeling, or that you are seeing, that you are smelling, that you feel that you're not alone. You are not alone. And we are telling people you're not alone. And we are speaking of what we are seeing, hearing. And then they're like, wow, you're the first people who are actually saying it.
Because we're able to, and kind of segue back to how you asked about that interview regarding Robert Edward Grant and AI and Amelia Oryx, it validated all of these initiations, not because of the AI, but because of the harmonic field. The field was validated. And that higher consciousness has always been coming through us to activate the portals within us, so above, so below, so within, so without. It's one and the same. However, you also mentioned something around new messages to the mind and listening to other people's beliefs because it gives us a broader perspective. They're not meant to compete with each other anymore because the hierarchy is coming down into relativity, which is our resonance, which then we go, oh, that's so interesting. We're not offended by it. We've cleared that block because it is in comparison and then hierarchy. Oh, I'm here and you're there. Now, when you walk, as Sue said, when you start to walk the path and you're just open, you say, universe, show me, I'm willing. And when we say, I align my will to the will of source, I know source has the most spectacular plan. We have a great plan. But if we want this spectacular, and our honest to God, I mean, what we are witnessing is nothing short of absolutely miraculous.
Yes.
What they promised is actually happening. We're living it. We're living proof
Yeah.
that no matter where you are on your path, close your eyes, breathe into your heart. It will never mislead you ever. And even if we get misled, even if we allow the mind, it's okay. We're meant to have that experience to bring us back. It's all paths lead home.
Yeah. It's amazing. And I just really am resonating and processing. And just two pieces that I want to bring forward. First of all, is both of you talking about you're not alone. And I think that's important in this world right now. As people are perhaps, we call it awakening or reconnecting or opening
Yes.
to this feeling. And it is happening through difficult circumstances. That's when
Yes.
we feel the most alone. And so I think it's also really helping them feel a sense of normality. And sometimes we need that, oh, this
Yes.
is something happening to me. People have done this before, and we find solace in that. We find solace in recognizing that it's through this experience and that it's not something we've done wrong. And I think that those are real vestiges from the Catholic or the Judeo-Christian systems that we have been within. And even other people, this is the second point, other people who may not currently be practicing within a Christian model, I think it's important to recognize that we have been living within this system because for 2000 years. So there has been this mindset from 2000 years ago and even before that. And so even if we are not in a belief group or in a belief system of it, we have been responding to it or adhering to lots of these beliefs. And it's embedded within our political systems, our school systems. It's just part of how we roll here. Right. And you spoke about that. And if you go back to your great grandparents and your grandparents,
Yes.
would have been part of their experience.
Yes.
And so it allows people to be curious if right now they're not in an experience of Christianity or within those realms to just see the larger picture in which they're working and how it has in so many ways. But you guys talked about how it just had us in a very specific confinement or way of thinking, and now it's changing completely. It's moving back to the heart and it's moving into that. So it's just getting you to think, even if it is the systems that we work within, do you feel it works? I can even look at the health system, right? Like you just look at the systems in our world.
All systems right now, all systems, love is in exile.
And explore it, expand on that because I'm getting shivers. So it's like, ooh,
I
just like,
just want to say, because that is the core of the experience of separation from our creator. So that's the experience we are now witnessing in all of these indoctrinated systems that have an authority, which is why now they're being exposed in what they said they were doing. And now what the people with eyes to see, as you always say, with eyes to see and ears to hear, those that have stepped back and said, I want to know the truth. What are they actually doing? And what are we actually witnessing? This is where the heart coherence, that pulse, is calling us home to step out of the emotional manipulation, step out of the mental manipulation, and what created this separation, the exile of love, to remember that it never left us. It's inside.
But there, if you look at the school system, the medical system, all of the systems that we have, and even we just talked about this a couple of days ago, and I know it's not supposed to be out there, but all the systems, they are opening up to truth. And that truth is, if there was love in any of these things that happened to us, like COVID, if that came from a place of unconditional love, we would not be having, there would be none of that. There would have not been separation between families and work and all of the things that happened. So that's why humanity is working in a world right now where love is in exile. And we need to bring back the mind, heart in union, to be in a place walking in union within us, that there is that heart mind union, that we are walking in harmony, because that is where love resides, in harmony.
And I know for the women who come across this and the men who come across this message for them. And I've know this is timeless, right? This is as we're going forward, because whenever they awaken to it, it's going to be the right time to hear this.
Yes. Yes.
And it's a powerful message of that heart and mind connection and that unconditional love for self, and then the earth and the others around us. And right. And it's moving within that. Does it feel, if you're in that unconditional love, what is that? So that's just powerful.
Mhm. Yeah. And never be afraid to learn. I am 67 years old, and I am I'm going to go into my third year taking some teachings from two beautiful women, and one of the women in her 70s, and she's still working. Do not be afraid to always learn, because learning is what opens us up. Other people, because each of us have wisdom inside of us. And so if we can learn from each other and have that beautiful love, and her teachings are to love like never before. Would you not want to take that? And so I said yes, and I'm in my third year, and we want to do it globally. We want to bring messages globally about to because there is so much from our history of this planet of wars and unlovable people, and that's not true. None of that is true. We just have to have that heart mind union of unconditional love. And I know that people who are listening go, I don't have any money to buy a Christmas present. I don't have this and I don't have that. But you have love. That comes from another world. You have love to give.
Yeah, very true. And in my privilege of being able to travel, you see some, actually their lack of wealth allows them to really experience the love within the limits of what they have. And I think that's the challenge in our Western society, is we get caught up in the all the stuff, and therefore we try to we can never get enough stuff to refill love, because it's not love.
Yes.
And that's part of the path too. In North America, we agreed to incarnate in this experience so that we would remember through that contrast. And, when you return to the heart, you become the instrument of peace. And, Canada has always been known as the peacekeepers. We are, because we are the spiritual chakra of this planet. And that's why we've been a target for propaganda, a target to separate, to try and divide Canadians. These people who came from all walks of life, Canada is the most beautiful example of all walks of life were received and welcomed and nurtured here in this country until those who agreed to play these parts came in and said, we're going to shake this up. And they did. At the same time, it's like they've shown me this vision before where we come into these endings and new beginnings where the puzzle pieces get thrown up into the air. And now we're creating the vision of where they come into place. We will always be the beautiful, friendly, open, receiving people of this country, regardless of where people think they are. We are coming in peace because that's our natural state of being. And that's the greatest completion of our transformation journey, which has been happening up until this year, this 9 year of spiritual awakening, spiritual integration, spiritual initiation within the body. We are it now. And nothing can stop it because the ultimate power is unconditional love. And we were born of it. You know, you're Catholic, so you'll get this. I kept getting this message over and over. Through him, with him, in him. But guess what they showed me? Him was spelled Hymn. Through him, with him, in the unity of the Holy Spirit. It was through the vibration, through the instruments. We're all an instrument, and we are creating this beautiful new symphony through our divine essence. And what's coming is unimaginable. I don't have a word yet. We're falling short of words now because we're coming into this whole new octave of existing on a planet that we've been creating because we've been separating into unity. The greatest paradox, because we need to find our people so we could feel where we were to then create, which we are, and we're living in it. We're not waiting anymore. It's here.
Very powerful, and I love that. You are correct, it does resonate with me, and when I think of him as Hymn, it also ties back to that whole piece of you're not alone, collaborating with
Yes.
others. That's
Yes.
as we have a collective voice, as we have a collective vibration, it is within this that we're going to be able to bring unconditional love in our homes, in our communities, in our countries, and in the world.
And you bring a really good point. It's where we are now. It's our community. This is why Sue and I, what we go away, we come back together. We go away, and now it's both. Again, it's accelerated.
Yeah.
So we just need to be open, and
We don't know what's going to happen.
we feel what's
trust.
going to happen.
We just trust that we're supposed to be doing what we're doing right now in this moment. And so we do it. We say yes to everything that's coming. And so every day's been very, very busy. And I wouldn't change a moment of it.
This is just such a beautiful way as we think of closing this conversation. How can people get a hold of you if they want to know more about you, know more about your work? Is there a website? Is there an Instagram? I'm not sure. How can they connect with you?
Facebook or Messenger and just my name. Just connect. If you feel the need to connect, just do it.
I'm on Facebook as well. And for anyone that it resonates, my website is ColleenHurleyLove.com. And they can reach out to me from there.
And I also let anyone know you can send me an email and connect with me. And I can
Yes.
connect you that way if you're really called to connect. So we
Yes.
can do that. As we close up here, you beautiful souls, is there anything that you want to share in your last messages that you feel called to share?
I am so grateful to meet Michelle, to Spirit guided us to go into that little shop. I am incredibly grateful to always listen and to say yes and to bring us to where we are now and where we're going to go, because we have no idea how this will impact the whatever we're supposed to be guided to do from this point forward. And so for anybody that's watching, this can happen to you too.
It's happening right now. And this is how it happens. One little connection at a time. that creates an opening that's beyond our imagination, but it is not beyond our heart's calling. And we are in the calling. And I'm so grateful to be part of the call you put out to Sue, and that I would be here divinely planted with her at this time, that we would create a trinity of such a beautiful expression of actually who we are in truth. And anyone listening is that we're all connected, we're all equal. So thank you. I love you. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle.
We love you.
Oh, this has just been such a powerful conversation, and I know it will resonate, as we know, for it, where it needs to go, and it will just have such power to heal, power to bring that unconditional love, and that curiosity to follow those breadcrumbs. And just speaking to my listeners, we've spoken about the soul, and until next time, keep listening to your soul and finding those breadcrumbs. Until next time. That wraps up another episode of the Lead with Your Soul podcast. I'm so grateful you chose to spend this time with me. As you navigate your own life transitions, remember to be gentle with yourself and embrace the journey. If you found value in today's episode, please subscribe and share it with others who might benefit. Join me next week for more insights and inspiration. Until next time, keep leading with your soul.